not very committed to this as my background. I just want to sit on the floor. So I mostly read longer books. I like a chunky book. But sometimes it is nice to read something that is very short, something that maybe you can read in one sitting. So I thought I'd do a video recommending books under 250 pages. I've got a variety of genre. They are mostly adults with a couple of YA titles. The first book I'm recommending is Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. I don't have a copy yet because I got the audiobook through my library, but next time I go book shopping, I am definitely grabbing a copy of this book. I loved it so much. It was actually recommended to me through Tailored Book Recommendations. I'll make a video probably about my experience with that company because I've had some really just wonderful books recommended to me by them. A couple of stinkers, but a couple books that I just really loved. This being one of them. Infinite Country is a multi-point of view narrative following a family of 5 as they migrate from Colombia to the US and back in some cases. It's a very character-driven narrative, but it does have significant plot elements that are very high stakes and will absolutely pull you in. But the characters are what really shine in this book. You start out this book with Talia, the youngest of the 3 children. She's escaping a girls' home she's been placed in due to an act of violence she committed after she saw somebody kill a kitten in front of her. She's escaping because she wants to get from where she is to Bogota within the week so that she can get a plane ticket that will take her from her father's home in Bogota to her mother in the US. Talia hasn't seen her mother since she was a baby. After her father was deported from the US, her mother sent baby Talia back to Colombia to live with her grandmother because she didn't have adequate childcare options for her youngest daughter. The story is absolutely beautiful. You go from person to person and get little glimpses into their life, into who they are, into their relationships with both Colombia and the US. It's absolutely gorgeous. The hardcover is 191 pages. It's very short. I listened to the audiobook. I listen on 1.5 speed. I can't remember the length of the audiobook off the top of my head, but I can have listened for more than 5 hours, and I'm pretty sure it was less than that. In that short amount of space, Engel packs a lot. You will be so attached to these characters. In the first half, especially because the audiobook narrator doesn't change as you switch from point of view to point of view, I did get a tad confused at times, but by the second half of the book, there was no confusion. The voices of each character are each so strong that it was fairly easy to settle in as the narrative switched character to character. Also, I wasn't sure if I was gonna cry in the first half, and then I listened to the last hour of the book while I was walking my dog, just walking around my neighborhood crying. I'm sure I looked very strange. I love this book. Especially, I would recommend it to people who want to read more about immigration, about the migrant experience from a personal level, and not the monolith of migration you probably see on the news. I would also recommend this book to people who are interested in family stories or travel stories. The next short book I'm recommending is Little Blue Encyclopedia for Vivian by Hazel Plante. This book is 188 pages. The structure of this book also makes it such a quick read. It's structured like entries in an encyclopedia. Also, there are illustrations throughout, which, take up page space and are beautiful. This book is about a trans lesbian whose best friend, Vivian, has recently died. The book is her processing her feelings of loss and grief and processing the way she felt about Vivian in life through an encyclopedia about Vivian and about Little Blue, the fictional television show the two watched together. This is absolutely fantastic, especially if you like a weird structure. I'll probably make a video about books with strange structures, or interesting structures, and this and Infinite Country definitely appeal to me because of their structure. So good. My next recommendation are these 2 books, The Empress of Sultan Fortune and When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Nevo. Each book is just over 100 pages, and I believe there are at least 3 more in this series coming. I assume they will all be short. This series follows a cleric named Nghi as they travel around a fantasy version of Imperial China, collecting stories to bring back to the monastery. This series is very feminist, it's very queer. I'm pretty sure both books feature Nghi collecting stories about sapphic relationships, and I cannot overemphasize how beautifully written these books are. I absolutely love Nevo. I am so excited to read everything she publishes. And if you're looking for a non-binary protagonist, both books are fabulous, but the first book, The Empress of Salt and Fortune, is probably one of my top 5 favorite books I've ever read. The next short book I'm recommending is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey. This is a dystopian book with strong Western elements. It follows a woman named Esther who stows away with a band of traveling librarians to try to flee the town she lives in. As she travels around with the seemingly all-female group of librarians, she figures out that these pinnacles of femininity who spread these state-approved texts around the country are actually a group of queer women and non-binary folks who might just be able to help her escape. If you are looking for a book about badass women and queer folks fighting fascism in a Western, this one. It's very good. My next recommendation is Ring Shout by Djeli Clark. This book follows Marcy Boudreaux and her fellow resistance fighters as they hunt down demons who are a part of the Ku Klux Klan. This historical fantasy will absolutely grab you. You will not be able to stop reading. It does lean a little bit horror. If you're easily grossed out, there are some scenes that are a little gross, but the book is absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to read more of Clark's work. My next recommendation is The Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This book is just over 200 pages long. It's about a boy named Connor whose mother is dying, and he is seeing this monster walking towards him, mostly at night, but also at school. This book is about grief and loss, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's also a fantasy. I'm not sure exactly what age range the book is targeted to, but I would say it's fine for children and adults alike. It's absolutely wonderful. It's full of illustrations, so the 200 pages fly by even quicker, and it will probably make you cry. I read this book many years ago, but I still find myself recommending it to folks all these years later. My next short recommendation is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This book is also under 200 pages. This book follows a middle-aged man as he goes back home for a funeral, and while he's at home, he starts to remember strange experiences he had at the lake down the road while he was a child. This book is creepy and eerie and has excellent atmosphere. It's a fantasy, and I think about scenes from this book all the time, and I'm pretty sure I read it in 2015, so it stuck with me. Maybe if you've never read a Neil Gaiman and you're wondering what all the fuss is about, this would be a nice quick place to start. Sightwitch by Susan Dennard is also quite short. It's 230-ish pages. It might be kind of cheating to include this because this is a novella that is part of a larger series. All of the other books are significantly longer than 250 pages, and you do need to read both Truthwitch and Windwitch before you pick up Sightwitch, but I couldn't not include it because I do really love this book. Sightwitch follows a character who's relatively minor in Truthwitch before the events of the first novel, though you do need to read the first novel before you jump into Sightwitch. The Witchland series is an expansive multi-point of view YA fantasy. As the series grows, we get more and more characters. The story is very feminist, has many queer characters. It's deeply engaging. The second to last book, Witch Shadow, just came out. There's one more. It's an excellent time to hop in this series. My next short recommendation is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This book is obviously wildly popular, so maybe you've already read it. Stone's other work is longer, so I couldn't really fit it in this video, but I wanted to include at least one of her novels. She's such a brilliant writer. This book follows Justice, a teen who is a star student at his local high school. He is handcuffed and taken into police custody and then released without charges, and this reframes the way he looks at a lot of his life. The book is journal entries by Justice to Martin Luther King, hence the title Dear Martin, as he tries to sort out his own feelings and whether or not they match up with the teachings of Dr. King. This book is such a quick read. I think I read it in under 2 hours. Once you read this, you should jump into Stone's other work. My next recommendation is We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This book is 234 pages. It is a YA that follows a girl named Marin who has recently moved across the country, I think for college. It's been a minute since I've read it, and her high school best friend Mabel is about to come visit her over winter break. This book is very character focused. If you require a strong plot focus, I would look to some of my other recommendations. This is a very insular look at one very sad girl as she tries to deal with loss and pain and coming out and being able to be honest with other people. It's absolutely fantastic. Nina LaCour is fairly known for sad lesbian books, and this is an exemplary sad lesbian book. The last recommendation I have is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This book is 206 pages. If you're looking for something that's part of the literary canon or just literary fiction in general, and you haven't yet gotten to Toni Morrison, this is her debut novel, and it's an excellent place to start with her. It's where I started. This book follows Pecola Breedlove as she deals with wanting to be beautiful in a world where whiteness is the pinnacle of beauty. She's dealing with a just horribly sad family situation and also a situation where she doesn't have community support. This book is very sad. It will get you over and over. I couldn't put this book down. I had to know what happened. I really need to go read more Toni Morrison because this was such a special reading experience. I hope at least one or two of those were new to you or were helpful in picking a new short book to read. Maybe you need to catch up on your reading challenge for the year, or maybe you just are a short book kind of person. I know some of them are quite popular or quite old, so you've probably already encountered them, but hopefully some of the newer titles or the lesser known titles could be helpful to you. If you have recommendations for short books I should read, I would love to hear them. I love a short book. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I had like 9 people watch my previous one, and I only know 3 of them. Am I Tori? So thanks 6 strangers. That's super cool. And I am significantly less sweaty this time.